Yo, what's going on, guys? You got your boy AAron2420, and it is that time of the year. JK, it's that time of the every 6-month period. Guess what time it is, boys? It's BBL time. So I'm not gonna lie, guys. I'm pretty fucking hyped for this season of BBL. We are finally doing it. I say every season we're not gonna unban anymore next season, but we fucking did it, guys. We fucking did it, Reddit. We unbanned everything bar Mega Ray. Every mon besides Mega Ray is draftable this season, ladies and gentlemen. And let me tell you, it is going to be fucking wild. I am looking forward. This is basically to put into perspective. Shout outs to Kelly, because Kelly got me to allow him to make the tiers because he got over 100 retweets. I think it's at like 110 or something by now. It's stupid. But it is what it is. So Kelly, of course, made the tiers. He wanted to unban everything, and I'm not gonna lie. I've been wanting to do this for a fair amount of time. But like it's, you know, when you start with not every Uber and you start with a semi-Ubers league, it's really hard to get people to just jump on board to say, hey, let's allow everything. So luckily we did. The only thing we banned was Mega Ray, and that was purely for the fact that, like, Mega... And don't get me wrong, there's gonna be people commenting down below, oh, you know, you could have banned Pedon too. But, like, the calcs comparatively between Pedon and Mega Ray were legitimately, like, absurd. Like, we could not actually find good switch-ins to Mega Ray at +1. And obviously, I mean, like Pedon at +2, but like the difference being is that Pedon does not also have like 115 speed. And people will say, you know, like Ice Shard, you know, that's the joke that people always say, you know, why not unban Mega Ray? But Ice Shard calcs do surprisingly little to Mega Ray, even banded Ice Shard calcs from like good Pokemon like Weavile, Mamswan. They do surprisingly little, even without Yachi Berries. So that's the reason behind banning Mega Ray. Figured I might as well explain that. We were running plenty of calcs. Of course, these slides were brought to you by the UltraPlayer Foundation, #do, as in do your part. So make sure to, you know, do your part and like this video, subscribe, and without further ado, I mean, we might as well get into the draft because I've been stalling long enough. So I guess funny story behind the BBL draft this season. So as mentioned, we did unban everything this season. I work with Kelly on like stuff, though Kelly had full reigns to do whatever he wanted technically. Even if I suggested something, I could have suggested making Pedon 20 points, but if he wanted to make it 200 points, he could have. Technically we only have 110, but he could have done whatever he wanted because Kelly had full reigns this season. As I said, I was there to suggest stuff because it's what I do. #do. See that? I totally fit that in. But in general though, like, Kelly had full reigns to do whatever he wanted. So, obviously, I technically could not have stopped him, but at the same time, I was there when he made the tiers. So, it looked really suspicious when I randomized the draft order and call. Keep in mind, this wasn't, like, sharing screen. This was just, like, the BBL call. So, I did the rolls, and I happened to get myself first pick in the entire draft. Now, this looks really sus. I'm not gonna lie. So, I was like, you know what? I'm a man of the people. I don't even know what I would take if I got first pick, and the pressure of, like, fucking up with one of those mons is terrifying, I'm not gonna lie. It's like, I would have probably, actually, if I'm being honest, I would probably drafted Primal Kyogre at first pick, because Primal Groudon costs more, and I'm not a fan of Arceus, purely for the fact that I know I will fuck up using it really badly. So again, like, it's just a matter of I don't want to touch that, knowing that it will go wrong. So I was like, you know what? I'm a man of the people. I'm going to re-randomize it so it doesn't look like I just, like, rigged it. So I did, and I got myself 13th pick overall. So, you know, less broken, but we'll take it. I actually, I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of glad that I got the later pick, purely for the fact that, like, I ended up having more of the mons I was eyeing taken. And there was a lot of stuff I was eyeing, keep in mind. I think there's still some stuff on the board entirely that I'm still eyeing, so if I don't like my team now, I do have options to free agent. I'm already looking into stuff, not because I'm unhappy with my team, because I actually do like my team a lot. It's more so just a matter of, as a safeguard, like, if I think that something might get taken, I might need to jump on that should I decide to free agent stuff. So yeah, we're gonna go with that. In general though, first pick overall, we got ourselves Mega Salamence. So Mega Salamence is one of the most terrifying mons in my opinion that we allowed, at least for its cost. Being only 30 points, this was still out of the range to get a second Uber for sure, so that is extremely disappointing. But at the same time, though, Dragon flying with a reliable flying spam, because of aerially, it's disgusting. And this is sort of along the Ice Shard note again, because this thing has nasty Fizz Def to where it can chew any Ice Shard that I need to. So that 4 times Ice Weakness is really not going to be that big of a deal, to be honest. On top of that, Pre-Mega Intimidate is disgusting, and the fact that I can Mega whenever. So I can also take advantage of Pre-Mega Moxie. So again, disgusting. For 30 points, I think this mod is really nice. It gives a 120 speed tier as well, so this is speed tying Arceus forms, which again, I think that's really important considering we allowed 3 this season. Last season we only allowed 1, and considering the pool of Arceuses that were allowed, it was a much different pool compared to season 1 where we had 4 Arceuses, and 3 out of 4 of them were Calm Mind heavy types. This season, at the very least, there are a lot of physical Arceuses, there are a lot of special Arceuses, there's some defensive Arceuses, so realistically, like, the 3 best, in my opinion, all do very different things. Like, Arceus normal obviously does, like, whatever, it's E-Killer, for fuck's sakes, but it's a primarily SD type, I guess, but again, E-Killer, because its items can do whatever the fuck it wanted to. Things like Dark, in my opinion, for its price, was probably, like, the next best, purely for the fact that you could get a second Uber with it. And that's definitely more of a special Arceus for sure, though it can also be defensive. And then, like, in my opinion, I would say probably Ground or Fairy were the next best, and Ground is definitely a physical Arceus for sure, you cannot tell me otherwise. And Fairy is more of a defensive Arceus with some special capabilities. And technically, again, Arceus can do whatever the fuck it wants, but just being able to speed tie all of those, and the fact that I could play 3 of them, I believe I play all 3 of them. I know I play in the first 2 weeks, Mastodon and Clutch, who both have Arceus' E-Killer and Dark, respectively. But I think I also play Dye, who has Arceus Fairy, but I'm not 100% certain on if I play Dye. I'm checking my schedule right now, which is why I'm stalling. And yeah, I actually played Dye week 3. Oh, great! This is gonna be another season where we somehow had the schedule randomized to play 3 Arceuses in a row, because that's not gonna piss off people or anything. Ah, god damn it, Sploich. It is what it is, though. Honestly, I could care less. Getting them all out of the way the first 3 weeks is actually really good, in my opinion, for me. So we take those, of course. But in general, though, Mega Salvage just being able to speed tie that is phenomenal, in my opinion. Even if E-Killer can technically run a Scarf, in general, just having that speed tier puts a lot of pressure on builds. Not only that, but it also has really nice defensive stats for that speed tier, and good offenses. With Roost, it still does have Refresh as well, so I don't even need to worry about getting Toxic or burned. Though even if I am burned, I can just click Facade. So, yeah, this thing, in my opinion, is legitimately filthy. I think it's really easy to build a team around this mod as well compared to other stuff, because not only is it cheaper, and with the 110 budget, I personally think 110 was really low. It is what it is. I would have went for like 120, maybe even 130, just because, you know, we did have a much higher point cap this season. But like 120 would have been fine. 110 was a little bit cheap, I'm gonna be honest, and it definitely showed in practice. But I think that still, with that in mind, having the 30-point Uber versus, let's say, at the time there was stuff like, I know for a fact that like Ultra Necrozma was around, and that is still around actually. Mega Mewtwo Y is still around. And those were both like more expensive mons. I'm pretty sure that was it for like the really broken stuff, because I believe everyone after me got double Ubers. So yeah, those would have been like the mons left for the really broken Ubers. But even then, like the 35-point jump to Mewtwo, Mega Mewtwo Y, I don't think I'd be ready for that. Maybe to Ultra Necrozma, but not to Mega Mewtwo Y. That would have been too much. Because I could have cheapened some lower picks for Ultra Necrozma pretty comfortably, and I would have had I gotten it. But again, like, I couldn't do Mega Mewtwo Y. So having the 30-point Uber, I think, was best. I might even drop to get, like, a Mewtwo plus, I don't know, maybe a Mewtwo plus a Koko, I think, is still around. There are a lot of 17-point mons around, actually. Like, I could do, like, Mewtwo plus Mega Mawa if I wanted to. That sounds disgusting. Mewtwo plus, like, Genesect would also be pretty filthy. Like, I could do some stuff if I really wasn't happy. So I could totally make this work, in my opinion. I think that we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But I am a big fan of Mega Salvage. It's one of my favorite mons to use in ladder and Ubers. So, next up, we have ourselves Clefable. So, Clefable gives me a really solid fairy. There weren't a lot of fairies I was actually going to be happy with Salvage, I'm going to be honest. And considering everyone after me I knew was getting double Ubers, like, I knew, I was helping Ben with his draft, so I knew he was getting, I'll actually save that, because I want you guys to go check out Ben's draft analysis, especially. If you guys only check out one other one, please check out Ben's. Ben could really use the support. He's just starting YouTube again. So I'm sure that he would love that. But in general, though, like, I knew what Ben was getting because I was helping with this draft. I was risking, of course, what JB was getting, but luckily JB got 2 Ubers on his wheel. And then there was also Josh, who ended up getting Xerneas. So I felt pretty safe getting it round 2. But round 3 would have been a whole other story. I think that a lot of people could actually taken it and would have actually taken it. I'm pretty sure I sniped at least a couple people with this pick, I'm going to be honest. But in general, Clefable, really nice mon. The fact that I have Unaware is going to be really good against Arashi Swarms, especially against Dark, which at the time was drafted. All 3 had went round 1. For the cap, it was Fairy, Dark, and Normal. So, makes sense in my opinion for the points. But just having an Unaware mon is going to be so nice. Also, Magic Guard capability is great for just outlasting teams. But to be fair, Unaware, I can always run like a Aromatherapy or something and at least try Heal Bell or Cleric until I can't anymore. What this thing also gives me is a nice rocker. It's my first stealth rocker on the team. T-Wave support is going to be really good because that will help with mints as well. Just being able to maybe fire off a pre-mega Moxie boost and then just going for attacks. I think that will be really good on my team, especially with my speed tiers. In my opinion, my speed tiers aren't the best, but I think just having the Clefable pick will help with that with just support. Knockoff is really nice in general. I think this fairy typing in general is really nice, especially with Magic Guard. I think that like an offensive set with this thing could actually be pretty clean in some matchups. I know that Blue ran it a couple times last season, so it does still have a place in Ubers in my opinion. To be fair, anything in draft could work in any tier. But I do like Clefable on this team, and I think that it's going to start helping with a defensive core, which I'm not going to lie, I think our next 2 picks I'm more surprised that I got, especially my round 4 pick, but we'll take it. So round 3, I got myself a Steel type. I knew these were going to be very few and far between this draft, and the fact that this mod made it back to me at round 3 at 13th overall, I'm not going to lie, I was appalled that it made it back to me, but I'm not going to pass up on it. We got ourselves Ferrothorn. So we got ourselves one of the mons of the Gypsy King Stalkor. Nice spike support. I really wanted spikes with Mega Ments. It was one of my big goals. So the fact that I have Ferrothorn of all spikers, that's like one of the best ones. Literally, unless I got a Greninja form as an Uber pick, which spoilers, I couldn't have. But unless I got an Uber, like an Uber spiker, this is probably the best one on the board. Even then, I'd argue it's a better spiker than DOS or DOD, purely for the fact that like DOS is just a shit mon, and DOD is just a more shit mon. But just the fact that I can run like spikes with this thing does get more T-Wave support, which is really nice. I found T-Wave support actually really something I wanted in this draft a lot of. And the fact that I have 2 defensive mons that can pretty comfortably run it should I need to is great. Leech Seed support as well will be really nice because I do have some walls on this team that are not recoverable, which will of course be very benefited by Leech Seed support in general. The defensive grass typing is great because it's at least, despite being a steel type as well, it's at least not an awful Zygarde check. Though again, well actually never mind, because it's not resistant, so it's actually not the best Zygarde check. But in general though, like a defensive grass type is pretty nice. In Ubers, defensive steel as well is really clean because defensive steel will wall out a lot of dragons. Obviously not things like Kieran White that do a fusion player, but luckily no one was drafting a piece of shit anyway, so we take those of course. I personally like this pick a lot. I think that in general, Ferrothorn is a really disgusting one to break around in Ubers. And just the typing is really hard because there aren't a lot of good fire and fighting types. Like your good fire types are Blaziken Forms, Ho-Oh, and then like fire coverage from Reshiram as well, I forgot about Reshiram. And then fire coverage from Kieran White. That's fire in Ubers. And I guess Arceus fire, but no one was getting that when there were other Arceus on the board. Like that wasn't something I even considered a possibility to worry about. And otherwise, oh shit, we all have Pedon this season. Okay, so I guess Pedon was also a thing. But this in general at least helps with Pedon, because I can Leech Seed it, protect, and then that's already a third, well, that's already a quarter of Pedon's health out of the way, and when it can't recover, that is huge damage to get off versus Pedon, and that will make a huge difference against it. In terms of steel types, in terms of fighting types, again, like, there aren't a lot of good ones. Arceus fighting sucks. Mega Mewtwo X is okay. Mega Lucario and Marshadow are really good ones. But, like, that's really it. You don't really see a lot of scary fighting types in Ubers, just because there aren't a lot that are. So, I think that this typing in general will be really great in Ubers. Iron Barbs is still a great ability. But next up, the mon that this, in my opinion, really ties together my defensive core. I got myself Suicune. So, you know, top 30 mon right here, beat the top 30 draft player in Johnny GB last season in a landslide, and proceeded to actually be one of my kill leaders, shockingly enough. Suicune is one of those mons that is always going to be really hard to break in any tier. I think that pressure stalling is going to be very valuable, especially against a lot of these mons. Things such as Pedon, of course, I can pressure stall out the Precipice Blades and make it maybe need to run Earthquake, which will, of course, help with defensive calcs, because at 20 base is a huge difference. It makes a lot of a difference, especially, like, you don't realize it until you prep it, but when you do build around a Groudon form, you realize the difference that Precipice Blades makes over just Earthquake in offensive calcs. So speaking in general though, like, can obviously pressure solid Precipice Blades, and that's huge for my team in general, just switching in on that. And it's not even just Pedon, of course, but this thing can just sit on a lot of mons. There aren't a lot of good grasses or electrics in general, let alone that are able to really break Suicune. So the fact that I can just sit on those, pressure stall them, and then just click Toxic and Protect, that's all you really need. So, you know, going to Timer, but it is what it is. My team is perfectly capable of doing it, in my opinion, if I needed to. And not only with these picks, but the next upcoming ones, I think I could definitely support that. It's got a really nice speed tier in base 85, especially for a wall. I think it's a very valuable speed tier, because I could sub up on a lot of passive mons, things like, for example, obviously I can sub up versus Clef and Ferrothorn, but I have those. But mons like Chansey, Blissey, I could sub up versus, let's say, like a Muck form, if it wanted to maybe just go for a knockoff, which is really good. I could obviously sub up versus Skarmory. I could technically run a little bit of speed and sub up versus Crest, assuming it's not creeping me. And same for like Finny. And that's another thing as well. I could easily saw out mons like Finny and get rid of terrain and then just Toxic stall them out, which is great because Finny doesn't overly break me that well. And at least for this mon, but like that's a nice way around like Misty Terrain, I guess. In general though, Suicune is just a disgusting mon to play around. I am so glad I don't have to play around it because I hate playing around Suicune. It's one of the mons I hate playing around the most. Just because I know how I would use Suicune, and it's one of the mons, in my opinion, I use the best in format. Like, it's just a brain-dead mon, so the fact that I can use it of all people, it says a lot about it. In general, though, Suicune great. Me, not so much. Next up, though, we got Crocodile. I think that Crocodile was a very valuable pick, because this is, in my opinion, my best Stealth Rocker. Because while Ferrothorn is obviously a really, really reliable Hazard mon, I would much rather dedicate that to Spikes if I can afford to. Croc is an extremely reliable rocker. Pursuit Trap is also phenomenal because my team doesn't exactly break Psychics right now. Like, my best way would be digging up Laments and hoping they don't Psychic me first, or just go for, like, coverage, I guess, like ice coverage or something. In general, though, Croak is really nice. The speed tier between Suicune and Ments is much appreciated. Base 92 is really good. This will just outpace things like Lando C, for example, which is always important to hit. In general, knockoff support with Stab knockoff is really nice, though to be fair, I do have two non-stab knockoff users already in Clefable and Ferrothorn. So it wasn't exactly the most important thing, but I still do appreciate it nonetheless. Good Dark type in general is something very important, especially good physical Dark type in my opinion, because it can stop Combine sweeping Psychics from running through a team. And my team isn't necessarily Psychic weak. In fact, actually it's Psychic resistant arguably right now because of Ferrothorn. And my draft doesn't exactly get Psychic weak either. Like, my fighting type is a very low tier fighting type, and my poison is a really cheap one as well. So my team doesn't really get that Psychic weak, but just having this in general is huge because this will help with things like Mewtwo, for example. Especially like Lunala. This will just be very nice because offensive Psychic types are disgusting. And same as offensive Ghost, though to be fair, the offensive Ghost typing is like Arceus Ghost, which didn't get drafted, Lunala, and then Marshadow, which would beat this anyway. So I am looking forward to using Crook. I think it'll be a great mon. It's got two great abilities in Intimidate and Moxie. Again, same as Ments, this thing can just go in at teams. And that's the thing as well, you need to prep for both in my opinion with Intimidate and Moxie, because obviously Intimidate helps you like take defensive hits better, and if you can't break it, then it's going to break you instead with the massive physical attack. But at the same time though, if you're not prepared to take a Moxie hit from something, then you're also kind of fucked. So I think that in general is going to be great for this team. Anyway, next up we have ourselves Raikou. Now I'm not the biggest fan of Raikou in format. I think it's actually a really overrated electric type, but for 12 points I thought it wasn't going to be that bad. I gained some respect for it after stalling people out with Entei, and I realized that anything with pressure can stall out anything with sub-toxic protect. So I have a second mon that can do that now based on mashup. And not only that, but I think that actually like Common Raikou actually does pair up against a lot of these Ubers fairly well. Because not a lot of Ubers actually do resist electric, I found. Things like Primal Groudon, obviously, you know, best mon in the format, that to be fair, is an electric immunity. Same as Arceus Ground, but again, they didn't get drafted, so I wasn't worried about it. But otherwise, the list goes down to like Arceus Grass, which again didn't get drafted, and that never would have gotten drafted. And then like regular Groudon. There aren't a lot though, like as you can see, I'm really running out of things to name. In terms of electric resist, then you go down to like, I guess like dragons to be fair resist, but like if there's stuff, oh yeah, Zyger Complete, that's another one, I don't know how I blanked on that one. Like Rayquaza is neutral, for example. There's things like, I'm blanking hard, but you get my point. There aren't a lot of good electric switch-ins, and a lot of them I can obviously just run my hidden power for, or even just like Extra Sensory is pretty neutral, Orisaur is pretty neutral. Shadow Ball is also good. That'll help with things like Giratina forms, for example. So yeah, we do have options, I feel like, with Raikou. It's a great 115 speed tier. This is my other way to get above 100, though I'm looking for a base 100 mon later in the draft, which will be very important. I think that in general, the momentum this thing gives as well was very crucial because I don't actually have momentum at this point in the draft besides Raikou. It gives priority as well, which again, I was actually missing, so technically, while E-Speed Raikou isn't a really viable set, it is priority nonetheless, and I will patch it up later on the draft. I get some okay priority users as well. But yeah, I think this mon is a good fit on my team. I'm looking forward to using it personally. I think that it's been long overdue since I last drafted Raikou, so I'm hoping that it doesn't do shit. I personally am not expecting a lot from it, but if it even does like one good matchup, I'll take it. Though as I said, I didn't expect a lot from Entei when I drafted it in ICB either, but it pressure stalled out Tread's entire team, so I mean, I'll take that. Next up though, we get ourselves a Grounded Poison, because Grounded Poison is a very valuable typing. I mentioned this in my draft analysis for LCB yesterday, or LBC yesterday, my bad. The Grounded Poison is something that's very sought after and very important, especially these days when Toxic Spikes are picking up a lot of traction. We got ourselves Venomoth. So one of the big reasons I wanted a Toxic Spike Absorber is because I have a Suicune. In my opinion, if you're drafting a Suicune, it is especially important to get a Toxic Spike Absorber. And having Venomoth is a really good offensive one in my opinion. Venomoth is one of those bonds that's really overlooked, but the fact that we were able to do Unlimited Z for non-Ubers, which is another reason I wanted Mega Ments, because the fact that Mega Ments doesn't need to worry about that, because it will never be Z, I can just get some good Z users lower tier, and to be fair, I didn't exactly do the best job of that so far, but Raikou is not a bad Z user, Crocodile is an okay Z user, and Venomoth is actually a phenomenal Z user, so we'll take that. Just getting this thing a +1 in general will outpace a ton of mons, and not only that, but a +1 Buginium actually hits teams so disgustingly hard. This thing without Z is pretty shit, I'm not gonna lie. But it does get some nice utility through things like Toxic Spikes. It gives me some more momentum. And again, the fact that I could just click a Buginium versus so many teams is actually really nice. This will be a great offensive check to Psychics as well, which again are terrifying, especially in Ubers. So I'm looking forward to it. I think Venomoth will be a clean mon. Personally, I want to see this thing pull off a couple sweeps. I think I'm capable of doing so. Sleep Powder support is always very nice as well, because that'll help with like a Mega Ment sweep, let's say, or like a Suicune sweep. So, we'll take those. Next up, though, we start getting to our budget picks, because by this point in the draft, I kid you not, I think I had like 7 points left. It was either 6 or 7. I'm going to do the math real quick. So, yeah, no, 7 points left. We had 7 points left in the draft. We needed at minimum 3 picks. I actually got myself 4. My next pick in the draft was something that I saw my good pal and Supreme Idol and Inspiration, the Flying Bird, use last season. And it's a mod that I considered last season actually pretty heavily. But I just couldn't fit it in, and Bird got it earlier than I would have liked to get it personally. But we did bump up this season of 3 points. I still think it's a great pick in 3 points, especially with what we allowed this season. I got myself Gothorita. So one of the best things about Gothorita is Shadow Tag. This thing is still like considerably a very viable mod, even in Ubers for a NFE mod. The fact that you can trap whatever you want and just charm spam to pressure stall them out is huge. Now, obviously, on Wi-Fi, that's not as valuable because there is a timer to stop from legitimately timer stalling someone out, like to just, well, pressure stalling someone out. Actually, this wouldn't pressure stall, I guess, but more so PP stalling is the better word for it. But Gothorita in general can take hits from tons of mons. It can take a +2 E-Killer hit, it can take a +2 Pedon hit, it can take a +1 Kyogre hit. So, like, in general, this thing can take hits from some of the most terrifying mons in the format. And obviously, it's not like in Ubers where I need to have my set handle all of them. I just need to handle one of them, or in some cases, 2 of them. Which is actually really good for this mod, in my opinion. It gets a lot of good support options through things like Trick Room. It gets Trick as well, so I can trick something that's unfavorable for a mod. In general, I do like this a lot. I think the Gothorita as a low-tier Psychic is also a really good option. Because while I don't necessarily have like a terrifying of a Psychic type, I do still have a nice, it's just a nice type to have in general defensively. Because a lot of teams that don't have good dark types could be take advantage of this by this because they just can't break it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. It'll help force a lot of prep too, because things will maybe have to ditch leftovers for Shed Shells. In terms of primals, especially Primal Groudon, this thing can actually be very valuable. Because I can just charm spam it to death and then Toxic stall it out. And by that point, Primal Groudon isn't actually going to beat me. So, we'll take those, and even if I sag this thing to Primal Groudon and just get it to like a 3rd because of Toxic Chip, that's going to be huge in itself because it's going to be racking up massive Toxic damage. And then if it has to stay in to like try and maybe decide between breaking a couple more mons or switching out and losing boosts, again, that's also huge because it will get rid of, either it'll get rid of Pedon in general or it'll get rid of boosts on Pedon. And I think that in itself is merit enough to bring Gothorita in a matchup. Hell, I almost actually brought it week 1 when I played Masto. just because of the fact that I can pressure E-Killer so well with it. But yeah, in general, I think this is a great mod in my opinion. Now, next up in the draft, I got myself a 2-point Ghost. I drafted this purely because I saw Zazu using it in DPL and I thought it would be fun. I got myself Mischievous. So Mischievous does have some merit. I think it's more so in merit of forcing prep. So I drafted this thing mainly to force Mastodon to bring coverage for it. Whether that works or not, you'll have to find out in week 1. But even Master was telling me like that this is a mod that in general people will think that I'm not going to bring. And if I do bring it, that is huge for me as well. Because if people don't prep coverage for this mod, I mean, like, offensive normal types, again, especially E-Killer, like, this could be a terrifying mod for people to prep around, just for the fact that it's going to force a coverage spot. Because with an E-Killer, for example, it's now forced around, like, a Shadow Claw or a special Shadow Ball, which is already the fact that I'm dedicating a move slot to a 2-point mod is insane. The fact that I can force one of the best mods, arguably for its points, the best allow in the entire draft, to have to run coverage just for my 2-pointer is huge. Because, especially with the Violet, this thing can actually take E-Killer hits besides Ghost Boost really fucking well. And the fact that I have Pain Split as well to recover up versus Arceus, I could outstall it as well. Toxic is great. It does get Willows as well, if I'm not mistaken, which is great. This gets some nice utility in general. So in general, I think this thing will be a great pickup for 2 points. I personally am going to use it more to force prep, but I mean, if I bring it to a game, I bring it to a game. Offensively, this thing can even just do a lot versus things like Duskmane. I'm pretty sure Duskmane is another mod this thing can actually, like, wall out, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, we'll take that. Sadly, I don't actually think I play Leo, but I mean, playoffs? But yeah, we'll take those though. Another thing as well is this thing can actually be a nice, like, potential mod. I don't need to worry about Mega Gengar with this mod as well. Because the low tier mod that can be defensively used, but I don't need to have Shadow Tag take advantage of me because of the fact that I'm a Ghost type. So when I play Blue, he can't actually wall me out should I bring this mod. Though, to be fair, I don't think my matchup versus Blue with this specific mod is exactly good at all. But it's more so just the fact of I don't need to worry about Mega Gengar trapping me, which is great. Anyway, next up we get into our 1-point mods. I got this mod purely for Baby Mascot pick. We got Monferno. Well, not purely for Baby Mascot pick, but it's 1 point. Gives me rocks. Gives me priority as well. Gives me momentum. It's a nice feature actually for my team, I'm gonna be honest. But I really just got it because of Baby Mascot. I could have technically gotten any other 1-point rocker in this spot. I chose my Baby Mascot. Monferno is actually like the only one of the group that I haven't drafted. I've drafted Monferno countless times. I drafted in APA LC, I drafted Chimchar, but I've never drafted Monferno. So I'm looking forward to using it, especially in BBL of all tiers. I think it'll be fun. And worst comes to worst, I drop it. But I think it'll be a fun pick. It has some niche matchup picks, in my opinion, but I don't want to spoil those too much because I kind of want to actually pop something off with this pick personally. But yeah, we'll see what it is. Finally, I got a mod, and I purely drafted this mod because I want to show Gypsy that you can actually bring it to a matchup because Gypsy doesn't seem how to know how to bring mods below his top 7 best points. So all of his 1-point mods, you know, obviously Gypsy didn't bring. He clearly doesn't know that how to bring them on a roster, so I'm going to show Gypsy King this season how to bring Regigigas. So, as I mentioned, this was the base 100 speed tier mod I was gunning. Oh, I didn't mention this specifically but I did mention I was gunning a base 100 mod. It was something that, in my opinion, was very important to hit because I didn't need to patch between Crocodile and Raikou. So I have Regigigas, which, like, just barely does the job. This thing does have a lot of really good, like, defensiveness to it, actually. It gets some more T-Wave support, which I mentioned was something I was really eyeing this draft. T-Wave, I have Ferrothorn, Clefable, Raikou, Regigigas, and I think maybe even Mischievous gets T-Wave. I know that, obviously, Sunspore on Venomoth as well. I think a Gothorita also might get T-Wave, though that one I'm a little less sure of. I will need to double check on that. But in general, though, I do like the fact that we do have, just have this 1-point fat normal type. And yeah, Thunderwave on Gothorita, and then Mischievous. I'm just curious at this point. Thunderwave. Yeah, this also gets Thunderwave. So yeah, like literally 2/3 of my team I think is Thunderwave, or there's some sort of paralysis to it. Which is really good, because I can force, even though my speed tiers aren't the best, I can force them the ways I want, which is huge. Regigigas also with Slow Start, in my opinion, that's actually not that big of a concern, because I can always run Protect to get around this. I can always run like Sub Protect, stall out turns of Slow Start, and then this mod becomes something with base 160 attack and 100 speed, which is terrifying. So the fact that I'm only handicapped for 5 turns, now I'm not sure if this thing gets reset on switching out. I'm going to be honest, I didn't bother enough to look into it. But if it doesn't, then oh my god, this will be a terrifying pick in my opinion, because I can just switch this thing in, go for Protect, switch it out, and then bam, I have a slow start Regigigas. So in general, I'm just looking it up real quick. Oh, because it is unswitching. Okay, so that's a little less good, but it's still not bad. This thing does still have a great move pool. For 1 point, I mean, I could care less. There wasn't a lot of 1 point mons I was actually eyeing. Now, if I had 2 points, something I actually was considering if I didn't go Gothorita was actually Abra, because Magic Guard Abra was really good. Something I also am still considering over Gothorita should it fail me is actually Kadabra, because of the speed tier. It patches up between Regigigas and Raikou really well. And it's just an offensive Psyche type, guaranteed Sash hit. So it is something I'm still looking into, though obviously I'm sure that after saying that, people are like, oh yeah, right, Kadabra's 3 points, has really good speed and special attack, and is guaranteed Sash mon. So you can guarantee live a hit and fire off a base 120 special attack hit. So I'm sure that someone's looking into it now as we speak, but I personally don't care. It's there if I want it, but I don't think I'll need it. Now, I did mention that I am possibly looking into free agents, not necessarily because I'm unhappy with my team, but I think it's always good to know that there are options should I need them. So as I said, I'd probably go with like the Ultra Necrozma route, because in my opinion, starting off in base Necrozma, like we didn't put a lot of restrictions on this. You have to start in Dawn Wings, and you also have to, you cannot actually click the Z move to Z off. You can only do it to transform. So for 2 extra points, I mean, that's a really bad handicap. But the fact that I can go extremely mixed in both stats, and I also have 129 speed if I'm not mistaken, that is disgusting. I could always free agent Gothorita for like a 1 point mon and make that work pretty easily. So I could make it work for certain. Now, whether I want to or not is something I'm still debating, but I think I might do it like later on in the season just to try it. Like last week of transactions, I might try and make it work. Again, just because this is the last Ubers league on Wi-Fi realistically that can be done for in general, because of the fact that next season will probably cut a lot of Ubers. Like that's just what will be targeted first. Like you don't see a ton of Ubers getting stacked into most games. So realistically, this will probably be the last season on Wi-Fi. So I kind of want to go all out and try what I can. So it is something I am looking into. I will probably, regardless of whether it's good for my draft or not, I try at least one other Uber just to say that I tried it. So I don't see myself keeping my immense, but it's purely just for that reason. Not because I dislike my draft. I actually really like my draft, and I think it's a phenomenal draft, especially compared to last season where I hated my team. I really like this one, and I think I can do a lot with it. It's just a matter of, as I said, I want to try a lot of stuff, and I think that even doing so, I wouldn't hurt my roster a ton by doing that. Obviously, you know, I lose it on the defogger from Mega Immense, but realistically, I mean, have you seen my Draft League games? I never click defog, like, ever. So, it is what it is. I am looking forward to this, though. This is going to be the most fun season of BBL, in my opinion. We have a phenomenal lineup, and I highly recommend you check out everyone. Links in the description below. We have tons of coaches that you guys will love. People like SixftHax. We have good pals of mine like Ben, of course. We have Arashi returning. We have MattOshea and Sparks the God, Season 1 veterans, and many more. All of them in the description below, and I highly recommend you check out every single one of them. BBL, as I said, it's my child. I take really good care of this, in my opinion, and I love seeing that everyone's so happy with this league. So I am looking forward to seeing you guys checking out. I'm looking forward to seeing the fans and how they enjoy this season. There's going to be a lot of really hype matchups, in my opinion. Week 1, we take on Padanison, Mastodon, the GOAT himself. I have been looking forward to, in general, playing Masto for so long. And every time I do, one of us drops from a league or the league dies, so we haven't ever actually gotten to play each other. But I finally get to play in Week 1, and I'm not dropping my own league Week 1, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm really looking forward to this game. I will see you guys in the next one, though. Until then, though, peace out, guys.